All right, here we are again. Hello, Memuna. Nice to see you again.
Hey, Freeman.
I'm going to turn up my volume here. And welcome everyone that's tuning in. Appreciate you being here. Tonight, I wanted to just kind of feed off of our last conversation towards the tail end. I mentioned coming back to the truth, and we mentioned that, both of us, and I would imagine a lot of you watching are tuning in to what's going on in the world, perhaps, and looking for the truth in all the information. And I wanted to explore this idea with Memuna of the truth and how do we find it. I would imagine most people, there's some part of them that is, seeking the truth all the time. And how do we actually get there? So, yeah, I just wanted to just ask Memuna, what is the truth? And I think maybe a lot of people think that it's like a collection of the right facts, or it relates to factual knowledge or something like that. And my experience over the years working with Memuna, someone that I see really lives in the truth and embodies it as more like a frequency than anything else. Is that what is the truth? How would you put it into words, Memuna?
Yeah, like what's going on? Well, in our last video, we touched upon, just to use the globe as the global phenomena, what's going on right now. At the frequency hub, it's there's this awakened view. So, I just want to mention that first. Like the view that comes through the filter here is an awakened view. And what does that mean? It means that it filters itself for the truth. And the truth is that which there's like this balance, there's this imbalance that we're looking at on the planet. A lot of light workers or spiritual beings in the last couple decades have become more aware that imbalance is an indicator of where something is off. And I think that that's the science of mind, I call it, to use to begin to detect where the truth is. And so we have words like the observer and the witness and awareness. And these are places inside where, as a beginner, you need to take those moments to observe the imbalance. Or, sometimes life, when you're in the flow, it's all going good and there's nothing to worry about. And, there's this being in the flow. And is that the truth? There's this shadow, there's this light, there's all these components, but truth really holds a semblance within, in the central focus, and it holds the balance unto itself. The truth, the awakened truth, is that which is greater than the mind and the ego. It's something, upon awakening, you can call it, it's like something descends, something turns on, it's a switch turns on. And it's like, the big joke is like, okay, whether you like it or not, you're awake now, which means you can't fall asleep, which means that, when the weather's, more metaphorically speaking, when the weather's good, you're going to see the good weather. And then When it's bad, it's bad. And what I mean by that is internally. So, when you're awake and, there's happiness, there's the awakening is present with that. It's not the happiness. And then when you're awake and then there's sadness, the sadness is really just as much like the happiness in a way, because it's a quality of emotion, of being, of feeling. It's not permanent. None of these emotions are permanent, and I've heard them say that, you wake up and then you're in a state of bliss. And I completely, totally want to meet that person. Because when you wake up, you see the lie. You see, that's what you see. And unfortunately, we live in a world, and I guess the global phenomena right now is, there's been enough light workers and enough, consciousness that wants to come to the planet, and enough people who are tuned into it in the last couple decades, like I said, this light of consciousness wants to come in, and it's the truth ultimately. Yes, I'm feeling the energy. It's nice. Just feeling the energy of, there's the truth and how it meets the awakened view. I mean, in truth, there is no truth. So there, I said it,
Right, we're done.
But being in a living organism, employing this state of consciousness and the human experience, yes, it has been my journey to be in the truth, awaken to the truth, and then the truth leads the way. The truth, it becomes the governing force. And, you become a witness, you become, it's not that solidified for me, because the ego never, so you always just kind of the watcher. So the watcher is the observer, whether you're observing on the outside or you're observing on the inside, that observer is standing close to the truth. So that, if you wanted to write that down, where do you find the truth? The truth is residing. It's like right by that observer, the internal observer. The truth lives there. It's always there. But this is the education we weren't taught as children. So we were taught to go to the mind and to get all the information and to get all the approval and to be the good girl and the good boy. It was all this external projection field, which is what I mentioned in some of my writing. And the projection field is, this expectation of how we're supposed to be. And it all served a purpose, but, now we're getting to the truth. Everybody who's been, completely conditioned that way might be shaken in their boots. Even if you're awake, you're shaking in your boots right now with what's going on in the planet, because it's amazing. It's amazing to be a truther, a truth being. I'm not really a truther because that's a whole other thing. Right. I'm friends. I'm my best friend's the truth. And, that wasn't an instant relationship for me. And yes, even after awakening, the personality or the undisciplined self in here did get kicked around by emotions and events or, but then it's like, you got to look at the imbalance, and what's creating the imbalance is the shadow. What's the shadow? It's the denied self. What's the denied self? It's all these behaviors and storylines that we hold inside our psyche and mind. And, if you're not going to pay attention to them consciously, they'll deliver their message unconsciously, gladly. That's what it does. That's what the whole, that whole programming. And then your sense of self gets programmed in that. So it's really, the truth is really close to the observer. And the moment a student has the experience, the direct experience of being the observer, and let me ask you, when was your first experience that you really got that you were the observer and not the mind, or not that
Well,
thing?
honestly, the first time that comes to mind was actually the first time I met you, and it was in a group setting. I was at the time I um, was holding on to a lot of pain that I was aware that wasn't mine. It related to a previous relationship, and um, immense pain and trauma and just emotional weight that felt. And there's a moment where I just kind of, through your help and guidance and, wanting to let this stuff go, it just kind of came up and out. And I was like bawling my eyes out. And you were, um, in the group, you were speaking objectively about what was happening with me. It was almost like as if I wasn't there. Like you were, my observer was present, but you were talking to the group about what was happening, with my body as far as the emotions and the karma that was getting cleared out in that moment. And it was just the way you were talking. It was the transmission. It was your own observer, your own awareness that really kind of spoke directly to my observer self, that could actually just kind of, I guess, sit back and see, as if I was another person in the room, like looking at, this person that's bawling his eyes out and whatever. So
Yeah,
that was probably the first time.
that's
Um,
profound. Well, it's interesting because, yeah, so what, I guess that's the invitation here from the awakened being. I mean, it's an organic invitation. It's not even something that I try. So
mhm.
it's good to, just for the record, clearly. And I see that when you're telling your story, I see, oh, this happens a lot with people, is when I do talk to people, or when there is an exchange going on, that yes,
It's your
I
energy. It's like your energy allows the other person to kind of drop whatever um, they're holding on to, and observe with you what's, present, and your
I
energy
think
really.
I'm inviting your true self is what's happening. True self can only invite true self. So the true self, like I'm saying, is right there with your observers. So what I'm hearing in your story is like, and I can feel the energy. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, your true self was invited. Your true self took the invitation. And yeah, I am skilled in talking in certain way. I mean, I am, yes, my gift, my capacity to communicate. Communication is one of my highlights, but it is about, it's not, yeah, it's a communication to unlearn. It's the
Mhm.
unlearning. It's the master speaking for the sole reason of helping my student unlearn what you're not. And so that is, and you were right there, willing to be, it wasn't even willing, your true self was present. And yes, it's a beautiful story. That's incredible, actually. I mean, it's
Yeah, it
incredible
was
to
a
just feel it.
profound moment. I mean, I remember you saying to me, to the group, to the room, he's dropping loads of karma right now. And
Yeah.
at the time, I'm like a baby on the path, so my spiritual journey. I'm like, I don't even really think I had many concepts about what karma was or anything, but I can
But
say
that's
now,
good.
like, I did not have, like, I really did release what I was holding on to. I mean, the pain of the past,
You were
many
holding
years.
on, you were holding on to your ex-girlfriend's suitcases
Yeah,
of
and
of
there are a lot of them.
of unresolved stuff that she maybe never was going to look at in her life. And because you two had merged and had naturally, because it was imbalanced, because you were taking on her stuff, you were being too, your unconditional love didn't
Yeah.
know its boundaries anyway. So, and then it's this
Well, and I
true
was
self.
trying to be the stereotypical, like, strong man that like, this like stone wall that can just hold it all and be rock solid. And I had, no skills to actually do that or like process all the emotional stuff. And
Yeah.
so there's a lot of
Yeah.
letting go of this idea of what being like a good man was,
Wow. Yeah.
like a strong man. That's actually what opened the floodgates, was when you said to me, do you know that you don't have to be strong, or something to that effect. And that like penetrated me in a way that it just like everything came out.
Wow. So that was a lot of conditioning, a lot of programming that you were playing out, and sitting with the master, and you sit with the master, and you have to. I don't know. I know that when I've sat with masters, it's always been the highest moment, and it hasn't always been sweet and pretty sitting with other masters, but it was always a place where I could be myself in a way that was like no other place. So sounds like you took that opportunity too, it's not, you can't learn this stuff. You just show up to this. I mean, I think we're, even just sharing this right now, it can just, maybe somebody can walk away with some piece of information or just a little tidbit here that gives them an idea or a different perspective. So your true self was invited just by transmission. Your true self totally showed up. Your mind shattered because it wasn't invited to the party, so to speak, and it had its fit, and then you surrendered to the fit. You cried, you kicked and screamed, and it was kind of like a psychic surgery in a way, because I had to keep you engaged at a true self level while there was other people there. And this is a long time ago, so it's cool to back up this memory, because it was quite a profound moment, and it was a shock for everyone to see there was a large group there, and it was a shock for people to see an individual kind of taken by the transmission. And then after that, I remember, just kind of light as a feather, and then it stirred in the minds of the other students. They kind of wondered what happened. And then you can see, and then your journey kind of begins, because you taste your truth, and then you get to meet how your mind and your ego want to come back in. And that becomes, I mean, that's a whole other video.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we can talk about how much I wasn't surrendered after that.
Then we can talk about yes, because it's like you sit with the awakened one, it's like, oh, it tastes so good, oh, this is it, and then it's like, yeah, anyway, so that's great. There's a whole like a whole fucking library there, right there. I mean, and that's the suspect of this frequency hub. I mentioned the primary suspect, which is the ego and the mind, and really standing in the truth of source. And truth is not popular on our planet. It hasn't been for a long time. There's been these great masters speaking the truth through the eons, and then they kind of develop these herds of followers, and I don't know, but the point is, it tries to speak itself. The truth has definitely come up and reared its head here and there, and
of course, and especially in recent years, the last 100, 200 years or whatever, with this scientific development, the truth, if it's not backed by a laboratory experiment, it often is overlooked.
Right, which is why I'd like to sit with scientists.
Yeah.
And put the things on the body, and be in the energy of what it is, in the company of those who care. Anybody out there care about this stuff, I'm game. It's just, it's an interesting exploration and entertainment. And when the spirit awakens, life does change, and it's not so much about the material world. It's about this inner world and the greater senses and the awareness opens up so many doors inside. And they don't all feel good, okay, you guys, they don't all feel good. That's important. Like, and sometimes the deeper you dig for the truth, the more the deeper you dig for the truth, the more painful it is. So, I talk about being awake, but I will tell you that I am pretty sure I've experienced more trauma than probably like full on trauma without the light turned off, the switch turned off. I know what that's about. I am not stupid at all in that way. And the thing is, in the awakened journey, you get to see the view becomes, this, I often think like, I wouldn't actually want to put on people what it is I've gone through, after awakening. It's been, maybe it's because I'm a divine feminine, and, she has to earn her badge or her stripes, I guess, in some archetypal way by really going into the split of creation. And it's not by choice, it's just by circumstance and the different energetic forces that she encounters. But it's like going to the very split where creation like split itself into, two different things. That's where this being has gone to this day. I mean, even today, there was entertainment around this, and it takes a lot of courage to seek the truth. And the truth is an evolutionary component that doesn't fit in the boxes that we like to put things in, so that we can feel comfortable and safe. And I definitely come across that. I got a personality. I got a root chakra. Living in this world isn't felt safe. And there, and so now it's getting exposed.
Right.
Now it's getting exposed why perhaps it doesn't feel safe to live in this world. And it's not because we're freaking cuckoo in the head. It's not because it's because there's been an extraordinary amount of manipulation.
Yeah, I mean, you shared in our last talk, I guess, just the darker truth, or a dark truth of all the lies, and that we lie to each other, we lie to ourselves. It's very much a part of the conditioning we're born into, which I wanted to circle back a little bit. You mentioned the projection field, and you had mentioned that previously as well. And maybe just to briefly talk about that a little bit. I'm sure we could go on and on. It's taken me years to even have any sense of what was meant by the projection field, but I kind of get glimpses of it now and have experienced it. But like,
well, let me start by just saying, first of all, you and me are very different people.
Correct.
Like, and if there was another person sitting here, I would say that person's very different than me, and it's very different than you. So we're all different. And I think that this is kind of the what's at the beneath the belly of the beast. The beast. I can't believe that just came out, because that's actually, I can see it. I can feel it. When I say I see from here. I am telepathically, psychically, seeing what is. It is consciousness. What is, so what gives? Anyway, it's this division. We go back to the division. It's the split. And the thing is, we're all functioning, we're all different. We're all genetically engineered differently. I mean, are we even all the same species? Like, that's up for questioning at this point. Yeah. So, like, let's just forget the human species for the moment and just look at us as individual beings living collectively on a planet. and just even in, in a collective space, or because we're different, and because we've been born into a world that is in this projection field. So the projection field, I think that the way I perceive and remember, it's the awakened view when I speak from perception. So yeah, the base of your perception is an ego. So my view has been, established through a process of what is ego, like this is years, 20 years plus. So I just refer to it as an awakened view at this point. And like I'm starting to see kind of like a fractal, actually like a geometric shape come in here. It's just the various points of this, or like the various fractal lines, I'll call it. But like individuals are born into this world, and we're here to discover our soul. And yeah, we're all a piece of God. We're all a piece of this source. I mean, how can we not be? Like, that should be global knowledge by now, I think.
Yeah.
It's so I mean, if I was a teacher in grade school, I would absolutely bring attention to children and their direct relationship to source, while I taught them mathematics or whatever, or art, or you know what I'm saying? Like I would. That's the knowledge and wisdom I walk with in this lifetime, in this incarnation. So, but it seems like there's a higher power, like this global energy wants everybody to get a clue.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah.
And I think that a lot of people are getting a clue. I think there's millions and millions of people on this planet who have a really serious clue. So anyway, we're talking about truth. We're talking about, this is a loaded, anyway, I like to always just kind of pause, because it's not so much what I'm saying. Every time I speak and every time there's kind of this intentional interaction with another human being, I always feel like this is in service to humanity. Right now we're clearing out energies, clearing out. And when I say clearing out, I mean making clear. Making clear for things, because we're in a time of massive confusion, and confusion comes from this dark side, from this shadow side. And it starts in the beginning where, it's the simple pleasure of someone keeping somebody in the dark, not telling them what's going on. And there's like a perverse pleasure that goes on, and that's all tied back to the ego and the mind. I don't care what gimmick you're into. I don't care what level, what color of the rainbow you stand on. It all like effacement. How would I say this? All effacement of true self in relationship to like this intellectual, or this stimulation that we live in. It's like, it's funny, the word stimulation, because it's also, I'm thinking simulation. But it's that we have been trained to give over that which is most important, which is our essence self, to the simulation. And it's, the mind, the eye hits the brain. It's all this attraction. It's addiction. The eye sees something, and it goes to the brain. And so anyway, all this has control, because there's no semblance with the true self. And so that's the way we were born into this world. So that projection field is coming from that off-kiltered mindset, or it's like the mind hold. It's where the mind's been trained on this planet, is through. And I don't even want to try to figure out where its origins come from. I mean, there's a lot right now around the darkness on the planet, and a lot of truth is coming up, which I feel like it's just a massive soul retrieval for me, like, and then some, because I've dealt with a lot of the shadow my whole life, while everybody just went on their vacations and had their other relationships. And yeah, I did, haphazard relationships, and I do have a child who's in college now, but mostly I was just doing the shadow work, which was being, I didn't have a choice. I was aware of all the suspicion going on, of all the trippy behavior and all the disassociated qualities that individuals would walk around with and take no account for. They take no account for this. So all these words and these kind of this variable, which I'm like this, kind of shaking up around here, inside all this inquiry and this way of investigating, this way of observing, inside this lies the truth.
Well, yeah, so this is a good segue, because the second major theme I guess I wanted to bring up was discernment. And like you said, there's we're always being bombarded with new information. We live in this informational age, or I recently called it the misinformation age, just because there's so much flying around, and that there seems to be, because of this projection field, everything you just brought up, and the conditioning of the planet and darker forces and everything, we've, as a collective, we have lost that. Is it a skill or an ability, or a faculty to discern? And like, what is it? I know, another thing is critical thinking, which is maybe something different, but it's more of a mental skill or process. But
yeah,
I'm sure it relates in some way. But yeah, like discernment, being able to discern the truth from the lie, or being able to discern on a frequency level, like what's being said. Can I trust this versus that over here? Yeah, what can you share about discernment? Is that something we have naturally? Is it a skill that needs to be developed?
Yeah.
And what are we even discerning?
Right. That's great. Great question. I mean, so yeah, is it natural to be discerning? I don't think it is natural. I mean, I'm not going to say that 100% for every person, but I think that some people have a, it's like you think about a child, and like they can walk into a room, or, I'll use this example. The child goes to the family party, the child's 6 years old and goes to the family party. And then there's that aunt or uncle that goes and touches the kid, doing too much of it. And the kid's going like this, right? The kid's pulling off. And that's a natural discernment. It's just, it's instinctively discerning. It's in the discernment. It's not, it doesn't want to merge with it.
Right.
So the kid's pulling back, and then, and then it gets really elaborate and confusing and complicated, because, then the mother says, "Oh, let your uncle hug you," So there the kid's sandwiched in between, early exposure to, touch violation, and whatever, all that stuff, which is common. Apparently, I've seen it around. It's the touch violation is very common. And I think that it's a very interesting place to be drawn to around this idea of discernment, because, being touched and being able to say no, we're not really taught to say no. So if we had the natural, it's more so, I don't know what's going on now kids are being taught all kinds of weird stuff, and it's all more mind stuff. It's all stuff that doesn't matter. That's the thing. They're being taught stuff that doesn't matter. And, it's not to say that this stuff doesn't matter, because some people get so offended when you say what's taught in school doesn't matter, because they might be a teacher or something. But if you're not learning that stuff with your true essential self, it literally doesn't matter, because it's like, well, let's see what happens in the next 3 years here on planet Earth. Let's see what ends up mattering.
Right.
Anyway, that's a tangent. That's a tangent right there. So this child's natural instinct to discern and to figure out for itself, and needed to step back. And if the relative was remotely conscious, they would have said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to grope you." Well, some people do. Well, people do grope children.
Mm-hmm.
Children feel good. They're yummy. They got that, innocence energy, and, which, I'm probably talking about this for a reason,
Yep, I'm
this
sure.
is, so yeah, it's, anyway, children are innocent. And along with that innocence, which is something that's been corrupted, we live in a corrupt world. And so it's that innocence and the kid cowering back. That's innocence and discernment trying to negotiate with themselves. And those are two, are they skills, or are they just it's higher wisdom, it's higher knowledge, it's the higher self. It's just another avenue of becoming educated unto oneself. Right? It's just information coming in. The kid gets a sensation. The sensation makes the body retract. If it's a supportive environment, the child can be with that. Run away, or go run away. And so awareness, we're coming back to awareness. Awareness is this, it's like the key distributor. It just distributes so much information that's beyond the mind.
Yeah, I mean, I just think for myself, as far as discernment and awareness, I still feel like very much of a beginner, but I'm definitely a lot better than I once was at being aware of my own actions, or even just the frequency that I'm speaking in, or my thoughts, being able to discern between, I don't know, something authentic versus just a program. It's kind of maybe a similar thing. It's just like a feeling inside of like, that
Yes.
doesn't feel quite right, what I just said. Or so, yeah, may not be from the outside. It just could be.
So yeah. So we're looking from the inside, and then, then there's like what you're being told, even like right now, like to, my viewers, it's like discerning what you're being told, by me. The discernment is, there's when information lands inside of us, because it is a force, it's a particle, it's a wave particle, and it does land in the aura space. And so discernment, so observing, it's an art, I would say, discernment. And for each individual, it's different, because some people might be really shut off, but if like you're really open and like psychic and sensitive to your environment and people, your instinct might be to comfort and merge people, comfort people and love people and make them feel in a certain way that everything's going to be okay and that you understand their feelings. But then the discernment comes more at a level where like, then you merge with an individual, you know what I'm saying? And just because they're feeling upset and you want to comfort them doesn't mean that they have good intentions or that they're running good energy. And so then there's a discernment at that level, the sensitive intuitive gets to learn along the way that, giving that kind of attention is probably not in her best interest. So that becomes a discerning factor. That psychic intuitive can see the flags of, they either hear it, they smell it, they taste it, the five senses. It's being able to detect in the experience what that information or what that input is going to do to them. And ultimately it's, do you want it or not?
Mm-hmm.
So this is where it becomes a martial art inside, because it's not so much making a choice with your head. It's about having the experiences, being the observer, like making the adjustments. Yeah, discernment's very challenging it's challenging, I think, for spiritual people to be discerning. I had to really crank up my discernment and awareness in the last, I mean, I feel like, you say you feel like a beginner. Yeah, like, yeah, I can relate. I can relate to feeling like a beginner. But at the same time, I'm not engaging in situations, and most often time when that comes up, it's when I put myself out there. Then I have to be discerning, because when I put myself out there, it's what comes back is how, it's the tennis game, it's the racket, right? And it's, for me, the practice these days is how to discern, the discernment in relationship to interfacing with individuals. And it's a multi-layered, we're multidimensional beings. We're not just this like, so let me just say that. So, we're multidimensional beings. And I think that if you're watching this video, that you know what the truth is, and that you probably, just because you're gravitating towards the frequency here, that you embody this stuff in your own unique way. And so discernment. And then, discernment. For some reason, the energy of a brown bear comes up when I say the word discernment. I say that word, and then it's just like a brown bear, a big brown bear. So it's like a protective energy to me. To be discerning is to understand what it is inside that you're protecting. So if you look at like Qigong or the martial arts or anything that's like, warding off, warding off. What are you warding off? You know what I mean? And then the whole point is protecting. The whole purpose of martial arts is to protect the one. And the one is your unique spark and connection with source, which is, I believe it resides in each individual. I mean, I don't even want to proclaim that, because, in the end, who cares? But that's what you're protecting. And the form, learning the form, any kind of form, really established, it becomes an establishment around this conscious self inside, this God self. And, that dance will never be done. That dance will never be finished. It's an ongoing, it's an ongoing process. And I think we do reincarnate to do it over and over again. But I do think that the heat is on, and consciousness is like wants to make its imprint. Mm-hmm. Let's invite consciousness to make its imprint on our planet. Okay, Freeman?
Sounds great. Come on in.
Consciousness, come on down, come on in, come on up. Yeah. So consciousness, you can even feel it. The truth, kind of the energy of truth, you can feel it in the word consciousness. It's like somehow tucked inside there, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, I think what we're doing here is I think what I'm doing is demonstrating how to look at things and how to be, I'm not talking at it or talking at you or talking, which is, if I have to talk like that, I'm in a red flag zone. I need to turn on my discernment switch. But talking at people or at things is not the way. It's not the way, because talking at things is perpetuating. It's like it's a crystallized fractal. We want to shatter this stuff so we can get to the truth. So, and really what we want to do is unlearn. And this is what the great masters have taught, and what I have taught. Or I haven't taught it. I've just, it's the way it is when you go into spiritual awakening, when you want to wake up. And
there's really no way around it at some point. It's like,
you can evade it. I mean, I know you evaded it for years, and you skirted around it, and sat on your little mushroom stump and thought about it for a year. It was like, you had the experience of the many different kind of views to this reality, and that's the wisdom you have. So this is not about doing it right. Like I'm saying, each person is an individual. But what I'm saying is like what's inside the awakened truth is this frequency. It's not really a negotiation. It's And nobody's good or bad inside this conversation. Ultimately, when you get on this hub, you coming to the frequency of, no one's good or bad. Those are just qualities of life and the frequencies of life that we haven't been taught how to live in relationship to. I mean, all martial arts and, you know, even like all the arts, I mean, but it's all getting suppressed now. It's ironic. All this stuff is, people will continue because the arts are so godly, you know, any kind of art anyone does is such a godly expression. It's so incredible. I mean, so that's that.
Well, great. That was a lot. That was a lot. I
Yeah.
would encourage anyone to that's watching to, well, first of all, if you felt like you got any value out of this and you liked any part of this, I would encourage you to give us a thumbs up. We'd really appreciate the support of this channel, and you know, you can tell YouTube to share it with other people that way, and of course subscribe if you want to, you know, continue to stay tuned in here. The other, I guess the last, I just wanted to encourage people as well to I don't know, watch, you know, if you feel called to watch this again, or really like soak this in, to you know, bring in the awareness, or just return to awareness as you're watching this, or if you move on to another video. If you're anything like me, you know, I definitely have some addiction to watching YouTube videos and just kind of go on one after another, and just to practice discernment, or just practice being aware, observing yourself, observing the frequency that's coming from those that are speaking, the frequency that's coming from me now, from Memuna, and you know, your own kind of filters, or what's going on inside of you, and just yeah, honor your own energy. And so those are kind of my final thoughts. Is there anything you wanted to add, Memuna, before we wrap this up? No. All right.
Good.
Cool. Okay. All right. Well, thumbs up, everyone.
Okay.
All right. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, see you next time.
Bye, Memuna.
Bye.